They're filing in here on a sunny Sunday afternoon in Southern California. And today it's the series finale between the Pirates and the Dodgers here from Dodger Stadium. And the postseason race is heating up as we take a look at our National League wild card standings. And the Pirates hoping to gain a game on the Dodgers, who are atop the wild card standings right now in the NL. And welcome into the booth. Joe Block along with John Wayner with you here this afternoon. And the Pirates yesterday, they got the bats going, but they couldn't drive them in, stranding 18 runners, that tying a 9-inning franchise most for the Pirates yesterday. But they did get the base runners on, and they did get Jung Ho Kang on 5 times yesterday.
Nice to see Jung Ho. Hopefully he's getting hot. I think with Andrew McCutchen's struggles, it kind of got overlooked, the Jung Ho Kang struggles, and got a base hit, a run-scoring base hit early in the game. And this one, a big bomb. We haven't seen this in almost 2 months from Jung Ho. A 97-mile-an-hour fastball up middle of the plate. He crushed it. That's what we're used to seeing. Got McCutchen swinging the bat better. Now Jung Ho Kang, very, very potent offense perhaps going forward for the Bucs.
Yeah, trying to get the match these Dodgers bats, who have been really good in the first 2 games of the series. Really good, really, since the second half of this season has began. And it'll be up to the rookie, Chad Kuhl, to try to limit the Dodgers here this afternoon as the Pirates look to take 2 out of 3 here in LA. And that's coming up next, right here on Root Sports. Both fans of the Dodgers and Pirates make their way into this iconic stadium, and Chad Kuhl making his 6th major league start here this afternoon.
Chad Kuhl, his last time out against the San Diego Padres, 6 innings, 5 hits, walked 4. But the one thing he did get a lot of was ground balls. I think earlier, his first few starts, he was up in the zone a little bit more, but you see the location was improving. I think he likes to keep the ball down for the most part with that late movement. He can hit that sneaky quick fastball by you. He can also get the ground ball with that late movement. 3 double play balls turned behind Chad Kuhl his last time out. And looking for another good one this afternoon.
So it'll be cool, and Brett Anderson making his first start of the season for the Dodgers as the Pirates get ready for this one. Let's send it back to the studios. Paul Alexander has a game break. Through the mind and body of Brett Anderson, who is making his first start of the year. Coming back from back surgery back in March. He'll take a big league hill for the first time. Let's see how the Pirates fare against him. Rare look at a lefty this season for the Pirates. Now the RAV4 lineup for the Buccos here today with Harrison and then Jordy Mercer filling in. And the number 2 spot, Starling Marte, a late scratch. Andrew McCutchen has fared very well against these Dodgers. Freese cleaning up with Gung that big night. And then Cervelli, Rodriguez, Frazier in left field. And Chad Kuhl on the mound. Josh Harrison atop that order. And pretty much familiar environs for him as of late. And he'll be the first to face Brett Anderson.
Anderson, these numbers from last year. 31 starts, a complete game, 10-9, a 369 earned run average. You can see there not a lot of strikeouts. He's trying to get you to hit the ball on the ground. It's typically when he keeps the ball down. Lots of ground balls. Pirates going to try to get him up, get him the other way.
And here is the defense behind him for the Dodgers here today. Brought to you by Honda. As Kendrick, Peterson, and Reddick in the outfield. Second and back at third today. And one pitch and one base hit there for Josh Harrison.
Why not? Base runners on every inning in yesterday's game. Keep putting them out there. Eventually, be driving them in as first pitch fastball, center cut. Jay Hay always ready. Turns it around.
So a chance to move even into scoring position with Harrison's good speed. Jordy Mercer was fared very well against lefties throughout his career. So if Marte, with him being out of the lineup on a late scratch today, moved up to that number 2 spot in the order.
We don't see that very much from Jordy Mercer, trying to bunt for a hit. Trying something a little different. I figure if you don't try to bunt for a hit very often, they're not going to play you to bunt for a hit. So, this kind of situation here, if Jordy was able to get it down towards third base. Third baseman back. He's in now, but back a little bit at first pitch. Worst case scenario is you move Harrison into scoring position. Best case, you have 2 on, nobody out.
You got that young third baseman over there in second end who doesn't know the personnel as well.
And I'm guessing with 2 sore legs, Seguin one at bat fouled a ball off both the left and the right leg. Lower leg hobbled a bit.
Justin Turner hobbled more for the Dodgers, so Seguin gets the start. And I wonder if it's a very warm day today. It's 90 degrees at game time here. The way that the Dodgers have hit really since the All-Star break. They've got 29 hits in the first 2 games of this series. Got to try to accumulate as many base runners as you can, like the Pirates did yesterday. Might have to be that kind of game again. A little cue shot that'll roll foul. Kick save and a beauty. Starling Marte yesterday, coming out of the ball game, has some lower back stiffness. And it was originally in the lineup today. Now this is when he came out of the game yesterday after the Pirates had made a double switch and taken Andrew McCutchen out of the game. They put Marte in center, and that put Clint Hurdle in a bit of a pickle. But Marte again in the starting lineup today, but not long ago taken out of the lineup again, so it must really be bothering him.
Boy, almost identical. How about that? 2 straight swings, 2 straight dribblers off the end of the bat.
Now that one didn't have as much English on it, but that first one, sometimes you see that ball kind of squirt one way and then it can kind of turn direction. If it's not touched, it's still live. It could go fair and foul and foul and fair, and doesn't happen very often, but it can.
Yeah.
We've seen that on occasion.
Always frustrating as a right-handed hitter if you do cue one and it stays fair, because it typically rolls right to the first baseman. Really easy play.
Now 2 balls and 2 strikes.
2 breaking balls for Anderson, the curveball and the slider. We saw the curveball earlier in the at-bat. And now the slider, once he gets to 2 strikes, he likes to go to the slider. That's where he gets most of his strikeouts, at least last year. 2/3 of his strikeouts coming on the slider.
We'll see how much of his repertoire is the same. Probably so.
And that's the fastball just throws it just over 50% of the time. The slider over a quarter of the time. And he has the curveball and maybe 5 or 10 changeups a game.
Mercer's worked the count full. Anderson doesn't throw very hard. That one at 90. And has had a hard time staying healthy throughout his career. Had a very fine season last year, health-wise. Competed the whole season. Mercer bombs this one out to left. And there it goes. A 2-run home run. Pirates up 2-0. What an at-bat for Jordy Mercer.
That's a great at bat, and again, wasting the sliders. As I mentioned, Anderson likes to finish the at bat with the slider, and Jordy Mercer fouling some off, gets the count full, gets a fastball, and he crushed it. There you see it up, outer half of the plate. Not a good debut this year for Brett Anderson.
Andrew McCutchen sends it deep to center, but that'll stay in the park. Peterson gets out number 1. Now Jordy Mercer continuing his success against lefties.
First baseman number 23, David Freese.
Sir, just a short little efficient swing. You don't see him swinging overly hard. You know, a 2-strike approach. And you'll hear Clint Hurdle say home runs aren't hit, they're thrown. And if you stick with your approach and get a mistake, hit it out.
David Freese is the second out. That's a big start.
Third baseman number 27, Jung-Ho Gung.
And here's your Rivers Casino tips to win. Cash in on opportunities. As we mentioned, Pirates 18 runners left on base. We'll get them on here today, get them in, and Jordy Mercer got 2 of them in. And for Chad Kuhl, stay cool, do what you've been doing, just go about it. Likes to pitch on the road, 2 great starts on the road. And going to take the hill this afternoon with a lead, which is always nice.
Jung-Ho Gung got on base all 5 times yesterday. That was really good to see. Earning a start today. First home run in almost 2 months. First multi-hit game in almost 2 months.
When you start feeling more comfortable at the plate, things slow down a little bit. You start recognizing speed, spin. You're less likely to be up there swinging at pitches out of the zone. Curveball there. Looked to be about at the knees. I think Jung-Ho thought it was down.
Always the toughest to judge. Where does it cross home plate?
Very bottom of the knee.
Gung will work the walk. So he's been on base 6 straight times now. Jim Joyce, the crew chief today. Gung aboard at first, trying to generate something here with 2 outs. 2-run home run by Jordy Mercer. And now Cervelli looking for his first long ball. Rock, you and I were talking before the game about, you kind of had this feeling that this was going to be a high-scoring game again. How so?
Well, for one, Anderson, I don't know. I think the Pirate bats are starting to pick up. They like facing left-handed pitchers. This Dodger lineup has been hot, very hot since the All-Star break. They're stacking the lineup with left-handed batters against Chad Kuhl. I hope I'm wrong about. Hopefully the high-scoring game all comes on the Pirates side, but you know, just you get 2 offensive clubs, and to see the bats being swung today.
Just missed. Now I'm curious too how it'll shake out. It's very warm here. It's unusually warm here. 90 degrees and rising here this afternoon. This park usually plays more hitter friendly during the day anyway. There's another base hit. Cervelli aboard. And Pirates starting to get something here with 2 outs. 2 men aboard for Sean Rodriguez coming up.
Right fielder number 3, Sean Rodriguez.
4 men on here in this first inning against Brett Anderson. It is hot, 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 and going to get hotter here. They're thinking triple digits. We'll go escape back to fall, autumn in San Francisco after this.
Yeah, it's like a totally different feel. It's crazy. We'll be in jackets the next 3 days up in San Fran. It was interesting. I don't know if you noticed this in yesterday's game. By about halfway through the game, all the fans over there disappeared, and there was many on the right side where the sun was. It was getting fewer and fewer fans. The third base side had probably 5 times as many fans because that was the shade side.
See all the shade there? That's premium seat right now. Hit well to right. Reddick back, looking up, and there it goes! Sean Rodriguez! A huge 3-run home run, and the Pirates beating up on the Dodgers 5 here in the first.
My goodness, that you don't see lefties hit the ball that far to right field. That was an absolute bomb from Sean Rodriguez, and he just continues to have an outstanding year, getting opportunities to play and coming up large. His 12th homer, now 38 RBIs. Wow.
5-0 here in the first. And a big 3-run home run. All that offense coming with 2 outs. And hit that to the opposite field. My goodness.
You can't believe it. And not a horrible pitch. It's down the middle, but around the knees. That's just a great swing. Sean Rodriguez doesn't go the other way very often. But going the other way in a big way. Way back.
Well, after that home run, if you don't count for, that's going to be an infield hit for Adam Frazier. Well, if you don't count for at bats, the 2 slugging percentage leaders on the Pirates are Matt Joyce and Sean Rodriguez.
Yeah, yeah, it's remarkable. I mean, look at what the Pirates are, where they are record-wise. Is Anderson trying to make a play, and by deflecting it and short, Frazier gets the base hit. Still would have been a tough play if he didn't get a piece of it. Yeah, but you're right, Joe. With Sean Rodriguez, Matt Joyce, David Freese. Now Freese has gotten more playing time, played regularly early in the year before Jung-Ho Kang got back. But those guys have just been so productive. The long ball, the big RBIs.
Well, this is just like what we saw a couple of days ago, or yesterday, I should say, with Brandon McCarthy. McCarthy had to come out of the game because of injury. Pirates have 14 players on the DL. They added 2 more today, including McCarthy. And for Anderson, he has missed all season after back surgery. And here in this first inning, trying to give it a go. Is he okay to continue? I suppose. And that bullpen was used a lot yesterday after McCarthy had to come out in the second inning.
Always a good sign when you see the pitcher bat before he ever takes the mound.
It's always a good thing. Chad Kuhl already with a big league hit. And a cautionary tail, though. That's a nice swing from Kuhl. The Pirates will bat around here in the first inning. Well, they got off to a big start yesterday, and now they got to hold them. Jordy Mercer going deep. And for an encore, Sean Rodriguez with 3 more. 5-0 Buccos. Bat. Homers by Rodriguez and Mercer. And the Honda lineup for Dave Roberts' LA Dodgers. Chase Utley atop that order with Reddick, and then Seager, the rookie, has been fantastic this year. Gonzalez, Grandal back in there for Peterson, Kendrick to follow, and Rob Seguin in for the banged up Justin Turner. See if Brett Anderson comes to bat here in this one today.
And for Chad Kuhl, numbers brought to you by Hyundai. 2-0, 3.91 ERA, 5 starts, holding opponents to a 2.58 average. Just a couple of long balls. That's as many as Anderson has allowed this year in 1 inning of work.
And here's the defense behind him. Adam Frazier in there for Marte in left field, and McCutcheon and Rodriguez out there as well. Francisco Cervelli doing the catching. Chase Utley to lead things off for the Dodgers. And the Dodgers today really stacking the lineup with those lefty batters. First 6 will all bat lefty against Kuhl. Broke his bat. And Harrison retrieves the first out.
Love the aggressiveness of Chad Kuhl. I mean, he is not afraid to come at major league hitters.
Right fielder, number 11.
Fastball with
Josh
some
Reddick.
sink to it. Likes to pitch inside. Throws his fastball 64% of the time.
Brett Anderson after that 30-pitch 5-run first. First inning back in the big leagues this season.
And he might be done. They have somebody up in the bullpen.
And the Dodgers got an inning and 2/3 yesterday from McCarthy. And he went on the DL today. And Anderson got checked out on the mound. He finished the first inning. And that doesn't bode well for him. Brock Stewart just called up today, as Josh Raven went on the DL too. The Dodgers with 14 players on the DL.
It's amazing.
And you feel bad for Brett Anderson.
Oh yeah, that's to rehab and to not be able to do what you're paid to do. Career's only so long, so if you miss almost an entire season, and throw 1 inning.
It's a fair ball, hit the bag, and Reddick will collect extra bases and put the brakes on at second. And that throw goes awry. Frazier has to come all the way in from left field to stop that bounding ball.
Fans are getting all excited over that whole thing right there. With 1 out, thought Reddick might try to go for 3. Rodriguez still hadn't thrown the ball in, and Reddick was just about at second base. You can see it's down into the corner. Well, Reddick's right around second right now. Rodriguez, that strong throwing arm, a little offline.
He had to hurry the throw because of Reddick, where he was out. Reddick's first extra base hit as a Dodger. Here in his 11th game. And the Dodgers yesterday, it seemed like a lot of balls hugged the line. And sure enough, that one is little fair as it could be. Now Corey Seager. Frazier able to retire it for the second out. And that's hard to do with the way that Seager's been swinging the bat.
Number 23, Adrian Gonzalez.
Is there a way for Chad Kuhl to pitch with a 5-run lead that's different than, say, if he started this game 0-0?
Well, I think he could afford to be more aggressive, but he's already pretty aggressive, you know. Certainly don't have to worry about making one mistake and it changing the course of the game. I mean, but I'm sure he's just going to go about his business the way he normally does.
Here's Adrian Gonzalez. He's got a 7-game hitting streak. Here comes Reddick, and he'll score, and the Dodgers on the board. It's going to be hard to keep this Dodgers offense down today. They have been something else since the All-Star break.
Yeah, especially these lefties. He's trying to go in. It ends up catching too much plate. And Adrian Gonzalez, not strictly a pull hitter, pulls the hands in, hits it out into center.
RBI 56 for Gonzalez. Yasmani Grandal back in the lineup.
And the one thing that will be interesting to see with Chad Kuhl is, you know, with all these lefties, does he go to the changeup a little more often?
Now, Kuhl has not fared well against lefties so far this year.
And usually that's the equalizer, and that last pitch there was a changeup. He only has thrown it about 8% of the time this year.
Upstairs that time. Heat 94. Now lefties 327 against him, slugging 510. And the righties have really struggled against Kuhl. Well, the Dodgers are left-handed laden lineup, and we saw with Garrett Cole yesterday. He had some difficulty, especially with the lefties. Tried and missed. Cole yesterday surrendering 12 hits, more than he had in any outing in his career.
I tell you, and you know, with that velocity, that stuff of Garrett Cole, I mean, they wasted the good pitches and even hit some good pitches hard. So it wasn't all on Cole. I mean, I think you know, the way they're swinging the bat, you have not only all the lefties but the approach. You know, see Gonzalez going the other way. Jock Peterson, who I've always felt was more of a pull hitter, going the other way. Seager hits as many balls to left as he does to right.
There's Peterson. Had a big series so far. Couldn't see Cole finish off hitters because these Dodgers seem like they're hitting the way that the Pirates did that first, what, 5-6 weeks of the season, where almost never struck out. Seemed to keep innings going. Gonzalez will be running here on 3-2. And another chance for Grandal.
Grandal, he's been swinging the bat as well. Wasn't in the lineup yesterday, but Friday night didn't have a hit, but hit 2 or 3 balls right on the button.
There's another old Pirate, Turner Ward, who's the hitting coach of the Dodgers.
Maybe 5 miles per hour, wastes another one, does Grandal.
So Cool had him 1-2 after 3 pitches. And now he will have to throw a 10th pitch coming up to Grandal. Looks like the same Dodger approaches as we've seen the first 2 games of this series. Finally gets his man. Good way to end the inning. 10 pitch at bat. Dodgers strike for 1.
Pirates Baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by Allegheny Health Network, Health for All. By Bordas & Bordas, official legal partners of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Visit bordaslaw.com. And by Day Automotive, we're gonna make your day. Let's go Bucks!
Gorgeous sunny Sunday afternoon in Southern California. And the Pirates enjoying a 5-1 lead through an inning. It's been eventful already. And it gets more eventful as Brent Anderson is done after 1 inning today.
Well, Bob Stewart called on early. Those numbers, just a couple of games, but 9 innings, 5 home runs in 9 innings. Looking to improve on those.
Just called up again today, and the Dodgers knew that they needed a long man in case something happened with Anderson. Remember, we didn't know that McCarthy and Anderson would pitch in this series until really right before the series began. Dodgers didn't know either, and Dave Roberts has continued to have to be very flexible with his rotation.
And Stewart will have the ball for a while, I would think, regardless of his performance.
Pirates batted around in the first, so Josh Harrison leads off the second. This is Stewart's normal day to start if he were down in Oklahoma City. So he can give the Dodgers some length today. Long man yesterday was Julio Urias, who they thought might start one of the 3 games of this series if Anderson or McCarthy couldn't go, but Urias went 2 2/3 yesterday, so he's down today. Harrison with a base hit to start things last inning. First pitch that he saw. There's Jordy Mercer at that big 2-run home run. Harrison lets it come to him. So 1 away here in the second.
Jordy Mercer.
Look at some of our Point Park tweets for today, and a lot of those for that first inning for the Pirates, with Mercer and Sean Rodriguez each hitting home runs. And you know, a cautionary tale, the Pirates had a 3-1 lead after an inning and a half yesterday, and the Dodgers came back, but Pirates were 3 in the first inning on Friday. There's Rodriguez, who homered. Dodgers still collected 12 hits in that opening game, but Mercer with a foul ball. And when Mercer connects, he really hits it a long way.
Oh, he has power. He gets a hold of it. No Park is going to hold it. And, great at bat. Fought off some tough pitches. Got an elevated fastball. And crushed it.
And the new pitcher, Stewart, dispatching the first 2 Pirates.
Yeah, the numbers didn't look good in his first couple of games, but he has velocity. The fastball 94, 95, 96. Tight slider.
Andrew McCutchen flied out his first trip. Got 3 men stacked on the left side. Kind of a staggered look. 241 for McCutchen.
Like a pretty decent change up there too. Right on right.
Brock Stewart, who has seen action with the Dodgers, as Rock pointed out earlier this year, but this is his first real work in the major leagues. Those 2 previous starts that he had. The Dodgers have needed so many different starting pitchers. Remember in the offseason, they what did they come to the camp with? 7, 8 different guys. How are we going to ever fit all these guys into our rotation?
Yeah,
well, injuries have thinned out that group as well as the next group. And now guys like Brock Stewart, who are probably not thought about to be part of the mix, have had to be in there. And Andrew McCutchen with another walk.
I mean, there were some borderline pitches there that he didn't even flinch on. And that, again, I was talking about it with Jung Ho Kang, how it starts to slow down for you. You start feeling better. Your timing is right. You pick the ball up sooner. You're not thinking about anything. And just waiting for your pitch to hit.
I was talking with McCutchen about that this morning, how I asked him, do you feel like you're, waiting out some pitches, some borderline pitches, or are you getting not thrown strikes? He goes, a little bit of both. Yesterday he felt like he wasn't getting thrown that many strikes. But look, since that Atlanta series, 471 on base percentage, now with 11 walks after that one right there. And those 11 walks since that series tied for the most in baseball. So, I mean, he is really trying to get more selective at the plate. Freese tries to shoot this one, but that doesn't count as an out.
She made a nice play earlier, I think, on a Mercer foul ball, a deflection off the wall. Was able to reel it in.
They're not our gals, but they do pretty fine here. I thought Reddick may have been playing a little shallow there. I'm nervous for a second. See, McCutcheon should be a little bit more lively too on the bases. Starting to swipe a few more bags. Has the total up to 5. David Freese bounced out to short his first trip, but he has been so consistent this year. Just a little low, 2-2.
And there have been some borderline pitches down that Brock Stewart's kind of wondering. And then a change up just below the knees.
Got to get a good lead over there at first. Anderson being removed from the game, whether it's injury related or performance related, after giving up those 5 runs in the first. And a couple of years ago, talking with the former Milwaukee Brewers general manager Doug Melvin about an interesting strategy that he thinks could really change the way that baseball is played, and that is, now the Dodgers didn't do this on purpose today, but you start a left-hander, right, in Brett Anderson. The Pirates stack their lineup with right-handed batters, and then in the second inning or third inning, whenever, you go to another long man who is the opposite hand. And so this kind of takes away some of that platoon splits. Freese very, very good against lefties, for instance. And the Pirates in general.
I mean, you'd have to pick your spots. You couldn't do that consistently. Maybe in a big game or something like that. I'm sure the opposition would be calling for an unsportsmanlike penalty.
Doesn't matter, right?
No.
McCutcheon runs on 3-2. And another Dodger walk. They walked 11 yesterday. First time in more than 7 years they had walked that many in a game, and they have already allowed 3 free passes. Yeah, but that concept certainly it's out there. But when Doug Melvin told me that, I was thinking, well, that's interesting, because the Pirates are a very forward-thinking organization, and you would have to have personnel to support that. The way that the bullpens are constructed currently, you couldn't do that. Guys are set to pitch an inning or 2. But it could be an interesting wave as baseball continues to be a copycat type of game. 2 men on. Pirates with a big 2-out rally last inning. And Rodriguez's 3-run home run. Now Gung has a chance to repeat the feat. Homered yesterday. And has been on base 6 straight times. One ball, 1 strike. Brock Stewart out of Illinois State. Grew up right there in Normal, Illinois.
thought this pitch a bit up at the top.
Two on, two out. 1-2 from Stewart.
Oh yeah, he likes that changeup. Another one. And think with a guy that's throwing as hard as he throws, 95, 96, that when he's getting that changeup down and away to righties, it'd be tough to even waste to hit foul, and that's been the case for the most part. He hasn't gotten any swings and misses off of it.
And it is a large difference in speed.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean that's something that's so odd for a right-handed batter to see a changeup, especially from a power guy, and to be able to locate it so well. Maybe they see the ball a little better. Talk about it all the time. Some guys just, you don't pick up the release point. The ball just seems to get on you a little bit quicker. Other guys, the ball looks big. See it as soon as it leaves the hand.
Here comes another 1-2. Now even. 96. And an easy 96 from Stewart.
It has a little movement to it as well.
Here's the Dodgers' 6th rounder a couple of years ago. A lot of Pirate fans here, living here or visiting. We'll take strike 3. But Pirates extract a big number of pitches from Stewart in that 2nd inning. Here the Pirates lead with Cool on the mound. And staying cool on the concourse too. Not so much in the sun. Let's take a gander at our Barrel League leaders, and this is the most consecutive team wins for a Pirates starter to begin his big league career since 1930. And Chad Kuhl has won his first 5 starts. Only Jim Nelson back in 1970 has done it more in that span. Most I was ever able to find was 8 times where a guy in his first starts of his career the team won, but they had relief appearances before that. Chad Kuhl has not. So he might be the only Pirate that came up to the big leagues, started right off the bat, and won his first 5, or the team had won his first 5 starts. A little bit convoluted, but you see what we're getting at there. And with 5 runs in the first, Cool may be able to add another. But as we've seen in this series, that is no guarantee of the way the Dodgers have swung the bat. And that's no disrespect to Chad Cool, but Dodgers collecting a dozen hits yesterday against Garrett Cole. That had never been done before. Cool able to get over it and get the out. Hey, Sunday matinee games make it a kids day at PNC Park, and the Bucks take on the Marlins next Sunday at 1:35. All kids 14 and younger receive a WB Mason truck, and they can enjoy fun and games out on Federal Street. So for tickets, go to pirates.com. Speaking of the Marlins, big injury news is that groin strain for Giancarlo Stanton is probably going to keep him out the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's horrible news for the Marlins.
And the Pirates very much involved in a chase for that final wild card with Miami. Miami ended up beating the White Sox today, so they'll stay ahead of the Pirates regardless of the outcome today. Cardinals play at the Cubs later on tonight. And the Mets sneaking back up behind the Pirates after Steven Matz flirted with a no-hitter today. Going to be a shootout down to the final gun with all the different teams that are involved, and you know, injuries pop up, teams can get hot.
Should be fun.
Talking with David Freese about that earlier today. He was on that 2011 Cardinals team that, if I remember right, got swept by the Dodgers right about this time, you know, mid to late August. And it should be Harrison here fighting the sun. It's the second out. But Freese in that following series, as he recalled, against Atlanta, they swept the Braves, who were in the wild card position at that time. Cardinals rattled off a series of wins, made it into the postseason barely, and went all the way to win the World Series thanks to some heroics from Mr. Freese.
You get into the postseason, anything can happen. A team that's hot can go all the way.
And it can be this time of year where you know, played okay, you played good. Don't really see any sign that says, well, this is a World Series winner. And he feels like the Pirates of today remind him a lot of that 2011 Cardinals team. And Clint Hurdle asked about his 2007 Rockies team today, and he said, just like you said, Rock, anything's possible.
That was incredible.
Now that was just about impossible. I mean, basically, they didn't lose for about a month. Had to play their way into the postseason with a playoff game just to get in to the postseason. Game 163. But Freese, you know, talking about that Cardinal outfit. He said the mix of veterans and rookies, guys coming up throughout the year, reminds him a lot of that team. Cool with a nice athletic play. And a 1-2-3 inning. 5-1 Pirates.
67th and final season of service to the LA Dodgers, Major League Baseball, and every fan who's ever watched or listened to him. I'm Robert Mikowski. Well, it's been a parade in and out of that Dodgers broadcast booth this season with people saying their, quote, hello goodbyes to Vin Scully, including Garrett Cole, who visited him this morning, which leads us to this Point Park University tweet. A nice photo tweeted out by the Pirates account of Garrett Cole and Vin Scully. So I asked Garrett about the experience. He said it was, he stopped. He was like, it's just amazing. I said, well, what did you do? He goes, well, we shot the breeze a little bit, and he interrupted his own sentence and said, everything that comes out of his out of his mouth is amazing. It was unbelievable in describing it. Garrett Cole, listening to him describe his experience with Vin Scully. Now, Clint Hurdle also paid him a visit today, and get this, they spent a few minutes, exchanged a few stories, and Hurdle asked Vin to autograph a baseball. Now, if you ever have been in Clint Hurdle's office, as many media members where I know a lot of fans have not been in the office, he has one autographed baseball in there. Derek Jeter, he got it at the 2014 All-Star Game when Hurdle was a coach. He is adding that Vin Scully ball right next to the Jeter ball. Hey, I got one player and one non-player, and they're the only two that will ever live in his office. The only two autographed baseballs he will have on display are those two, including the one he got this morning from Vin. Joe?
Well, thank you, Robbie. And you look at that picture of Garrett Cole. He's a 25-year-old man, and he looked like an 8-year-old boy with that smile against Vin Scully. He turns you back into your youth with Garrett Cole growing up here in Southern California. What a special man and a special moment, I know, for Garrett Cole this morning.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. I mean, a lot of traffic up here. You got the Secret Service wanding people before they go in.
This is earlier today. This is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the highest scoring player in NBA history, one of the greatest basketball players who's ever lived, and he wants to make sure that he can get his picture taken with Vin Scully. That's how much he means to everybody.
Iconic.
They recently renamed Elysian Park Avenue here for Vin Scully, changing the address of Dodger Stadium in the process. And a man of great humility that would never ask for anything of the sort, and probably was embarrassed by it. But he has touched so many of us, and we're just very grateful to have been around him for the little bit here and there that we have.
You can't imagine what he's going to do with himself.
And I believe is a fair ball. It hasn't been signaled otherwise. And Cervelli is out.
Yeah, that fastball riding in on Francisco, and
Number 3, Sean Rodriguez.
so bizarre. Is it just a check swing and that little part of the bat down by the hands, that skinny little handle, it hits it square.
And by the time he got up, he was about 88 feet away from being safe.
Yeah, that little bit of that handle, you're thinking, how does it hit directly in the middle of it? How is it not a foul ball?
It's like playing stickball.
Yeah.
Take a broom handle. Now, Sean Rodriguez had that big 3-run home run with 2 outs in the first. And that home run that he had was the difference between yesterday and today, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They generated something with 2 outs. And just like you were talking about in our tips to win, cashing it in, right? I mean, really, all right, you put him on the ropes again, really cash it in. Brett Anderson's coming back off the DL. Get 5 in that first inning. Don't settle for 2.
Yeah, we just couldn't get that big hit that produced a crooked number. And in the first inning, 2 of those hits, a crooked number, a 2 and a 3. And those are big. You like the base hits that drive in 1, but the big hits that drive in 2 or 3, they could be backbreaking.
Rodriguez could certainly play for Earl Weaver, the late manager of the Baltimore Orioles. He always quipped that he's playing for the 3-run home run. All those great teams that were beaten by the Pirates in the 70s.
Number 26,
Oh.
Adam Frazier.
Hey, speaking of all the greats in broadcasting, there's Greg Brown, our model for today, and kick off a great weekend with a free shirt Friday. Bucks taking on the Marlins at 7:05 on Friday. First 20,000 fans through the gates receive Greg Brown. No, I'm sorry, a free Cannonball Coming T-shirt presented by Peoples. Yeah, there's our model. Pirates.com/free shirt Friday. Come on out. Watch the Pirates try to chase down a chance of the postseason, and maybe you'll get to see Greg Brown model something in person. He got a nice golf shirt on today. There he is. Okay, now how does he do that? Wow. Pow. It's like that. That is some
Good stuff.
How could he do that? Just it's absolute magic. That's coming up on Friday against the Marlins. We'll make sure to promote it throughout the broadcast. Today, tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Maybe Friday in the pregame, just to make sure. Slowly hit. Can they get two out of this? No, good slide. I think it's important to point out what is a legal slide these days and what isn't. And looked like Rodriguez had a nice, good, clean 2016 slide in at second base.
The ball wasn't hit real hard, even without the hard slide. You see there, he got Seager to move his feet, so he just holds on to it, doesn't bother to throw it.
Didn't slide late, slid into the bag and stayed on the bag. A bona fide slide. And you get a little extra speed on the bases and you clear the pitcher. Cool, line one to second his first time on.
Yeah, good swing.
He's very athletic. Play he made to end the second. One, two. Oh.
Watch out, Jay Hay.
Jay Hay, one of the few that actually probably stands close to where he's supposed to. A lot of guys get even closer to home plate. Makes me nervous. Those guys that want to get right by home plate there. Cool battling here.
You know, you playing winter ball, you know, they'll have the bat boy is usually an older gentleman, and he like, I mean, he's right behind the batter almost. They got guys out there taking pictures
as plays happening.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Cool, able to put it in play. We were talking about this earlier. This is a look outside of Dodger Stadium with a new address honoring the great broadcaster Vince Scully. Here at Dodger Stadium, it's Magic Johnson Gnome Giveaway Day. So all the fans of Magic, one of the owners here of the Dodgers, posing with celebrities and dignitaries before the game. Throwing out a first pitch. I've never seen a 6'9" guy get a gnome. They had a birthday cake for Magic, a great Michigan State Spartan as well. You know, I had to throw that in. His Laker days, of course. So everybody is sharing their birthday with Magic here today. Pirates had a lot of Magic in that first inning. 5-1.
Were you a Michigan fan or state? You were a Michigan State fan?
Yes, that's where I went to school.
Oh. I knew you went.
We're both Big Ten guys.
To school in Michigan, the state of Michigan. I don't know which.
Green and white. Now Brock Stewart, a lefty batter despite being a right-handed pitcher. Somewhat of a rarity. You expose that pitching arm when you're batting the opposite way.
Yeah, you never want to get hit in that right arm.
Looking for his first big league hit. 2 for 10 in the minor leagues.
Talk about Chad Cole being a good athlete. All pitchers think they're good athletes. Some better than others.
And he's down on strikes. And school's starting back up soon, so bring your family to PNC Park with an end of summer back to school deal. It's presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Here's what you do. You purchase an adult ticket in the corner box or outfield box, and then you receive a free kids ticket. And the back to school offer, good for all games in August. So go to pirates.com/back to school. Get your tickets, see the Pirates before the kids have to go back and learn stuff. Take that one last summer vacation, right? Make it an easy one. Short car ride.
Crazy. Summer's gone already.
Happens every year, doesn't it?
Yeah. Goes by fast.
Time flies when you're having fun. Chad Cole having some fun after that run scoring single by Gonzalez. He sent down 5 in a row.
Good change up there. Utley way out in front.
Really starting to use that pitch now.
Yeah, I think it's a necessity against the lineups that have so many good left-handed batters. But that was a beauty.
Made that fastball really play up in that at bat. Getting some more ground balls after the first couple of batters came up in this game. Everything in the infield since that Gonzalez hit.
That last pitch right there to Utley may have had more movement than any fastball I've seen him throw. That almost looked like the changeup as far as movement-wise. I mean, it was 94, and it moved more than the previous pitch, which was a pretty good fading changeup.
Probably the. Let's see this from this angle. Look at that. How it
just straight down at 94.
And it moved away from Utley, too. I think of that Washington start he had right after the break. That one was, you could really see the movement. Gave a 1 hit in that start. Soft single for Josh Reddick. He's 2 for 2 today.
And that wasn't a bad pitch. Looked like a little slider. Just hit off the end of the bat. A little flare. Let's see where Cervelli is. Look at the location. I mean, that's a backdoor slider. I mean, he starts it off the plate. It catches the corner.
That's the big leagues, isn't it?
Yeah. How did he hit that?
Cool says that his fastball velocity will vary quite a bit, and I imagine that's because of the movement, right? Depending on how much movement he's got on a particular day or within games.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how that works. You know, that, like I said, the best fastball movement-wise I've seen today was that one that got the comebacker from Utley. That was 94. He hasn't thrown much harder than that this afternoon. Maybe thrown a couple at 95, maybe, but yeah, I don't know exactly how that works.
He's thrown a lot of strikes, half 100 pitches, and 34 of them over the plate. Corey Seager's been red hot. 5 straight multi-hit games.
Well, and if you throw it in the strike zone, there's a good chance Seager is going to do some damage. You know, his spray chart, or whatever quadrant, in, out, up, down, he's above league average.
Hitting .310 coming into today. He's got another hit. Swinging on 3-0. Back-to-back 2-out singles for the Dodgers.
We'll go to all fields. This pitch he's probably trying to hit out of the ballpark, but just a little bit out in front of it. Usually you get the green light 3-0. You're looking for a pitch that you can pull in the air. But, a little bit off the end of the bat, a little bit out in front, a little top hand. You think of, like, pitch guy up and in or down and away. Seager's 571 up and in, 360 down and away, 461 down the middle.
Doesn't miss. And he's a rookie. They got Gonzalez played right. And they'll get the Pirates out of the inning. Dodgers don't go down easy. 2 hits, 2 left. 5-1 Pirates. Today in the NL West, Pirates leading them here in the game 5-1, but the wild card standings compacting quite a bit. Marlins winning the game today, but losing Giancarlo Stanton likely for the rest of the season. That will have a big effect on Miami's chances, unless they go out and get somebody. Carlos Gomez is floating out there.
A-Rod.
A-Rod's still possible, right? If he comes back from retirement.
Just throw him in the right field.
He has been retired for a day and a half now.
And he's only 40-something.
I think 41. Josh Harrison leads off an inning for the 3rd time today. On a very, very warm afternoon, the pitchers have had to work. 130 pitches between the two teams through the first 3 innings. Long innings means some fatigue. 90 at game time. Harrison on the first pitch he saw singled to start the game. Full, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Seen a lot of this today.
Yeah.
Hitters working the counts.
Again, the Pirates impatient, drawing their share of walks.
And he earned that base hit. Harrison will be held to a single. His 2nd hit already today.
Yeah, at times you'll see Jay Hay. He can expand the zone. You'll see him out over his front foot, hitting pitches that are down and away. He can turn on a fastball too. They're thinking they can sneak a fastball by him in, but yeah, that's right on the corner, and Jay Hay gets to the barrel to it easily.
Leadoff man aboard with some speed. 15 swipes for Harrison. And when Jordy Mercer batted with Harrison aboard in the first, boy, he cracked that one a long way. 8 home runs now for Jordy. He's quietly having a very fine year.
Oh, yes, he is. I mean, we don't talk enough about him. It's just because he's just so ho-hum about it, not only with the bat, but defensively.
Harrison starts and stops.
A little slippage. Jay Hay lost his footing a little bit there.
Came out of the blocks. Not so good. Whoop. Looked more like bump wills than Maury wills there.
Tell you what, their grounds crew, I mean, there was no batting practice today or yesterday, but their grounds crew's on the field all day long. It seems like all morning long, preparing the field. They water the warning track. They've done all sorts of things to the dirt.
Probably baking quite a bit.
Yep.
That sun really gets you down here.
Yeah, it's probably hard to keep it soft, the dirt portion of the infield, and so, you know, we used to come out here and, you know, all the fields were just rock hard.
Now that grass was down there during batting practice yesterday. The Bermuda grass, it's soft and spongy. It's amazing how they can keep it. Technically a desert here, right? Or semi-arid, or whatever they want to call it.
Doesn't get a whole lot of rain.
Months go by without rain here, so Harrison getting a big lead over there.
I'm sure they have a rain tarp somewhere, but it's not visible.
They store it behind the field of play there. I've seen them bring it out, I think, down the left field line if they think there's rain, which is an annual event usually, if that. Harrison running. He'll stay out of the double play. And you can follow Pirates Baseball live with the MLB.com @bat app. You can stay up to the moment at any moment with game day, live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com @bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone or tablet. I don't think we're going to see a drop today. And judging by the smog, they probably haven't seen any for a long time. Andrew McCutchen working a walk his last time around. Brock Stewart on in relief of Brett Anderson. We haven't got any word if Anderson left because of an apparent injury, but Anderson giving up 5 runs on 2 big home runs in that first inning on his first inning pitching in the big leagues this season. Dave Roberts has continued to have to search. Clayton Kershaw still out. And the Dodgers remain right in the thick of the hunt for the first wild card. They're in that spot now, and for the NL West.
I don't know when Kershaw will be back, but watching him throw before the game, looks like he's throwing 100 just playing catch.
That's all he's doing right now. No timetable for his return just yet. Base hit, McCutchen. Harrison's going to score. Andrew McCutchen drives him in, and the Pirates add to it at 6-1.
So effortless and easy. Andrew McCutchen. Just tell he feels it. He's back in the groove. Fastball Wade doesn't try to pull it. There's a big hole up the middle. Short and quick. That's exactly where the second baseman was playing, where that ball went. They had 3 infielders on the left side with Andrew batting.
And David Freese takes ball 1. So Harrison running on that pitch that Mercer hit not only stays out of the double play, gets to second and is able to score on the base hit. Seven hits already for the Pirates, and yesterday was such a bummer. You know, the Pirates get 10 hits yesterday, but they drew 11 walks. They strand 18 runners. They lose, and you think, oh man, you know what a rough day. Well, offensively, it was still a very good day for the Pirates, but pitching wise, which has been lately a rarity, that they did not fare well. And the Pirates continue to hit.
Yeah. Every inning, once again, just like yesterday, putting runners on base.
They were in a bit of a funk for a while there offensively. Feel like they're starting to come out of it now. Freeze ahead in the count. Drew a walk his last time around. Stewart already up to 63 pitches. This is only his 3rd inning of relief. Runner goes. And McCutchen is safe.
No tag.
He swiped the ground in front of McCutchen's hand, and then he slid into the base.
Yeah, Utley arrived at the bag a little late, it looked like, and so he just caught it and threw it down in front of the base, hoping that Andrew would slide into his glove.
Nobody home.
Yeah, if Utley gets there in time, he's probably able to make a play. Kind of still on the move. couldn't get set. Utley.
What do they call that? The Michael Phelps? The swim move? Saw Harrison do that the other day. So the Pirates have another man in scoring position. Freeze works another walk.
16 walks now, 13 innings.
That's not what you're expecting from the Dodgers pitching staff. Brock Stewart hasn't often gone over about 80 pitches. Not since June has he thrown more than 84. So you think, okay, well, if he doesn't get out of this inning quickly, he may not be lasting very long today. And the Dodgers, who had to rely on their bullpen for 7 1/3 yesterday.
Yeah, you got to think Dave Roberts wants to get him through the 5th at least.
Pirates have not been compliant. They finally got Gung out, striking him out looking back at the second. They've been on base 6 times in a row. Hey, this would be a big series win if the Pirates could take 2 out of 3 here in LA. The caliber of opponent, the way that the Dodgers played here at home, they have the 2nd best home record here in the National League.
Yeah, very important. Yeah, the way the team struggled the last road trip in Milwaukee and Atlanta. You think coming out here against 2 very good, talented and hot teams in the Giants and the Dodgers would be a great start.
And another Pirate batter ahead in the count, 2-1. No Gregory Polanco, not hurt today, just getting a day off. Starling Marte, late scratch today. That back still bothering him. McCutchen not going to tag here. So Gung is the 2nd out here in the 4th inning.
We've talked often about Brock Stewart and his fastball, the velocity, he has some movement. Just not aggressive with it. You know, see a lot of sliders, a lot of change-ups. When he does throw the fastball, it looks like he's just trying to pick at corners instead of just attacking. I mean, I think that's what makes Chad cool, interesting, and you know, you like the fact that he's not afraid of the bat, not afraid of having the opposition put the ball in play, trying to get ahead, control the at bat.
Yeah, Cool's more of a bulldog, you know, coming after guys, trying to get that ball beaten into the earth. Cervelli on the first pitch out of the inning. Pirates get another run, and they lead 6-1.
The Toyota RAV 4th inning. The all-wheel drive RAV hybrid has performance that will make you rethink hybrid. Let's go Bucks!
And they're still able to get along. 6-1, the Pirates have the lead. We have seen a lot of Pirates fans here. I wonder if how many people are coming here to visit for the series and how many people have relocated down to Southern California.
Yeah, I'm sure a little bit of both.
Great place to come for a visit. And the Pirates are on the road. We're going to go up the coast, play in San Francisco after this. A little fun in the Bay Area. Meanwhile, fun in the sun here. Those are the guys that Andrew McCutchen gave his batting gloves to. The McCreary family back at Petco Park last year. Well, that's neat. That was such a captivating moment, wasn't it? I mean, just as simple as can be, right?
Yeah, very, very cool. They look older.
Their idol right there, just doing a little something for them, and their eyes lit up. They were so excited. Oh my goodness, Andrew McCutchen. That's what baseball's all about. Look at that.
I love you. You're the man.
Look what I found.
Well, that was pretty good stuff right there. I mean, the reaction so quick. I don't know if that ball was hit all that hard. I think a little bit off the end of the bat, but still, Chad Kuhl reacting and snatching.
That was hit at 98 miles an hour.
Well, maybe not off the end of the bat.
Roger's the dad, Christopher and Elijah the kids. They got another good seat. Hanging out in the pavilion. A lot of blue in the pavilion, but they are making sure that Pirates are well represented. Belted down the line, and this one's out of here. Chuck Peterson at it again. Young Jock is 6 for 11 in this series.
He's got that pop, boy. You hear the crack. The pitch not far from where Chad Kuhl wanted it. Peterson just gets the barrel to it. He gets it elevated off the barrel. It's gone.
18th home run. He has 5 extra base hits here in this 3-game series.
Oppo yesterday, this time gets the hips through early.
Really loading up. A little arc there.
Yeah,
So
the
you can
wide
see
turn.
it. Yeah. Why not? Can Harrison get there?
Oh.
It's a fair ball. And Kendrick safe at second. He'll get a double.
In and out of the glove. Boy, what an effort.
Number 25, Ross Seguin.
A long way to go.
Oh. game of inches.
It's almost like it hit the fingers of the glove and he kind of squeezed and it popped it out. If that goes into the pocket of the glove, it doesn't come out.
A lot of second basemen that don't get to that ball.
Most, yeah, for sure.
Bob Seguin. Look at our Allegheny Health Network Supermo. Where's it hit? Yep. Oh, kind of in the heel a little bit and came out. Didn't quite have enough time to close the glove. Cool quickly back with 2 strikes. PK Hernandez has moved out on deck. Well, take that back. He was on deck. They just exchanged him. Now Chris Taylor has moved out on deck. Either way, it looks like they're going to bat for Stewart, the pitcher. J.P. Howell. Lead cut to 6-2. And a big strikeout by Chad Kuhl. 3rd of the day.
Getting ahead with the fastball and finishes them with the slider, and it's not the greatest location there. So he left it up, but Seguin so worried about the velocity, the heat. Was expecting fastball, started to swing early.
Taylor overall at 245. Got a couple of pinch hits this season. He's got Kendrick aboard at second with 2 outs. After his 22nd double, the ball in and out of Harrison's glove after he ran a long way to try to get there. I think Kuhl has done a nice job at trying to manage this Dodgers offense today.
Yes, he does. Yes, he has. And again, aggressive. We talked earlier about more change-ups.
Two and one. You might look at it and say, you know, the pitch count hasn't been all that crisp. He has given up 6 hits. But he has worked with that lead that he was given. And so far has stayed out of that big inning. That's a strike. The Dodgers yesterday had at least 2 hits in each of the first 7 innings. They scored in each of the first 6 innings. Wasn't any stopping them. Turner Ward, the hitting coach. Kuhl gets out of it After that one-out double following the home run, Kendrick left. Pirates lead 6-2 as we go to the 5th. At the top of the 5th, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar taking in the ball game here today. Let's look at our Allegheny Health Network injury update. Tyler Glasnow scheduled to begin his rehab assignment tonight with AA Altoona. Been on the DL for about 3 weeks now with that right shoulder soreness, but feeling better, and now gets back on a mound tonight. So great to see him progressing. Chris Stewart also scheduled to be in that game in his second rehab outing. J.P. Howell now on for the Dodgers.
For the 48th time, 1-1, 3.23 ERA.
So the third pitcher already for Dave Roberts and the Dodgers. The Dodgers needed 101 pitches to get through the first 4 innings. Pirates have kind of shown a little bit of what they did beginning this season. Sean Rodriguez, that big 2-out 3-run home run in the first. Into the gap. And Kendrick will hold Rodriguez to a long single. He's been on base all 3 times today.
Left fielder Adam Frazier.
And this is Dodger Rich Hill, who is working his way back with many of the Dodgers who have continued to be on the shelf, trying to get back into action. 14 on the DL right now for LA.
How long does it take to get rid of a blister?
He's been plagued with that for what, a month now or close to it?
Crazy.
And Frazier 1 out of 2. He was not originally in the lineup. Starling Marte, a late scratch, sore lower back. So Frazier, the lefty, was put in there against the lefty starter Brett Anderson for the Dodgers today. Out there in left field, wanting to give Polanco a day off. Frazier had an infield single against Anderson, who lasted just 1 inning, his first major league inning this season. Hopefully not his last. He may have left with injury.
Yeah, who knows whether it's back again. I mean, typically when you have a back surgery, I mean, they're going to be super patient with it and make sure that there's no symptoms or any soreness. Make sure it's strong and limber.
Foul ball.
And hard to tell if he did something while throwing or if when he dove for the little comebacker that Adam Frazier hit in that first.
It may not have been tested like that in his rehab assignments.
Yeah.
Big league game, you got to do everything you can. And just barely got away. And Rodriguez hustling into second base. Great anticipation.
Yep. Good jump. Another runner in scoring position. Once again, the Pirates creating opportunities. The curveball kicking away to Grandal's right.
Looks like Rodriguez stayed on the bag with either the hand or foot at all times.
Yep.
Kept that toe on the bag. Bob Guerin, the bench coach. Well, they said they want to look at it. I'm surprised by that.
Yeah, me too.
Call on the field is under review.
Well, we're just getting word that a mild left wrist strain for Brett Anderson of the Dodgers. That's why he left, for precautionary reasons. Well, his toe seemed to be, his foot seemed to stay on the bag, but maybe not. His hand came off, but I thought his foot stayed on the bag while his hand was off.
Maybe just came off just a little bit, and they're going to have a very good view of it to overturn this call.
I'll tell you. Let's see what comes down here from New York as the call's about to come in. I think it is. Yep. And the call is overturned. Wow, that's, this is the stuff that we've been hearing from Commissioner Rob Manfred about. With replay, they want to get everything right, but also he doesn't want the game slowed down. And I don't know if there's a way to kind of limit these a little bit, but I mean, no one with the naked eye could tell that he's off the bag.
But look at Corey Seager. I mean, there he has his foot in front of the bag, and the glove stays on it. Who knows, maybe pulling up a little bit with that glove as he had it under the leg.
Conclusive enough for New York to overturn, so Rodriguez put out 2-6, trying to advance on the ball in the dirt. And the Pirates have benefited from this. It's not biased, but I think in terms of what replay is intended to mean is, the obvious. And Jim Joyce, who we just saw there a moment ago, the great example of, and just one of many examples, the perfect game nearly thrown by Armando Galarraga in 2010. Now that play at first base, Jason Donald out by about a step and a half, and Joyce inexplicably called him safe, and he was so remorseful at the end of the game. Everybody makes mistakes. Umpires make mistakes. Sometimes they can't see something. They're blocked. That's what replay's for. As Frazier ropes a base hit, but this really minute detail, just for a millisecond, he was here, and then just in space and all, matrix. Okay, I just don't like that.
And I don't know how you change it.
I don't either.
Replay, I don't know how you can do anything different.
And it has benefited the Pirates as much as it has hurt them. It goes each way for every team, but I don't think that's the spirit of what replay is trying to do. And I think baseball has continued to try to make replay better. But how do you make this better? I don't know.
Adam Frazier now 6 for 10 against lefties.
Well, you were talking with him today. before the game for your radio interview about his hits off Kershaw.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to him who he faces. Hard thrower, soft thrower, righty, lefty. He just hits. Doesn't seem fazed by much. Not overwhelmed, not in awe.
Well, his dad Tim is left-handed, and so all the time throwing to him as a kid, he thinks that's a big reason why he can hit lefties. He has throughout his pro career. Cool trying to bunt him over, now down 2 strikes. One thought I had about replay is about, and so far most of the managers I've talked to about this do not like this rule. But what if you had to, you have to challenge immediately, like you have like 5 seconds. If it's just very evident, boom, you have to immediately signal to challenge. And then that way, if it is that close, you're not going to challenge it because you can't tell until somebody on video sees what happened.
Yeah, if you put a clock on them, yeah, that would change that type of call. That is one way where I think that could change that type of call right there, because everybody in the ballpark watching Sean Rodriguez dive in, they know he's safe. And so let's just say you have 15 seconds. Are you even going to check that? Waste your time?
That would speed up the game. Now we would still be able to see it at home on TV, though. Maybe if a play could have been overturned. Seguin elects to get the sure out. So a sacrifice for Cool.
Yeah, yesterday we saw Garrett Cole bunting in a first to second situation. He bunted in the wrong direction. He bunted towards first. They got the lead man at third, and this time Chad Cool bunts in the wrong direction, and I think fortunate that he had some speed on first and Adam Frazier, and I don't think Seager's at the bag either. Seager started coming off the bag, but the intention was to get the lead man. Third baseman is charging right there. If he gets the ball, he's thinking lead man. Now, that's not the direction you want to go.
So the speedy Frazier at second, 2-out hit might score him. Pirates lead by 4 here in the 5th. Put together 9 hits today. Strikes to Harrison, who's already put together a pair of hits of his own, a couple of singles. Frazier has 2 hits today.
Gotta like Josh Harrison at the leadoff spot when he's swinging the bat well, getting on base. I think we have had so many different guys in that position. John Jaso mainly. But with the things Josh Harrison can do on the bases, if he's hitting, never a real high on base percentage guy just because he doesn't draw many walks, but
yeah, Harrison 5th lowest walk percentage of any qualified hitter. So he doesn't walk, which is kind of funny because the way that the leadoff role was defined to start the season was on base percentage, guys drawing walks. John Jaso, for instance. And Harrison's on base percentage has come from hits. But he does have that speed element, which is different.
And when he's been in this role, he's gone on base more so than where he is overall.
And the other day when Harrison was out, Frazier was in there in that leadoff spot. Popped him up out to right. Reddick having a hard time with it. And Frazier's going to come in to score, and they gift wrap a run.
J.Hay will take it. happened to Reddick. Was it yesterday with Polanco up? Lost the ball in the Suns. Here he's fighting, trying to see the ball come out. It just didn't come out.
About the same time of day, too. Is that a play where Peterson, he came on late, but can Peterson help the center fielder at all there? Or?
That's a lot to ask. I think the only thing that you could do differently is, one, have darker shades, being that it happened 2 days in a row, or two, instead of staying in the same position, move. Try to, instead of catching it on your backhand side, maybe try to move and try to get it on your forehand side. That you're going to change the angle. Those are drills that we used to do in spring training. They'd hit fly balls into the sun, and if you had enough time, you try to move out of the sun. You try to create yourself a different angle to get the ball out, instead of if you're staring up at the sun and the ball's up in the sun, it's not likely to change direction. So, but by you maybe just, again, if you're thinking about your glove on your backhand side, and then you can just kind of take a step to your right, or Reddick take a step to his right to where his glove's on his forehand side, that might be enough angle to where the ball comes out. Easier said than done, but I know that's a drill we used to work on.
Makes a lot of sense.
But, we also, in those drills, use darker sunglasses.
And it is very sunny. Not a cloud in the sky on a warm Sunday afternoon here. Harrison gets credited with a run batted in, a double. 3 hits today. This is kind of a Reddick's eye view. It's that blue sky. And nothing to gauge where the ball is versus that. Mercer today homered that big 2-run shot, second batter of the ball game. Glenn Hurdle moved him up in the order to face the lefty Brett Anderson today after Marte was a late scratch. Paid early dividends. Hard hit and bobbled by Seager. The inning continues. That'll be an error on Seager. Well, a couple of miscues in a row for the Dodgers.
Andrew McCutchen.
Tough little hop at the end of this. Came up. Okay, he was thinking about it. He never not goes hard. You love it about him. Josh Harrison goes 100% all the time.
Another pitching change here in LA.
by the authority of the Pittsburgh Pirates and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Well, Corey Seager's error prolonging this inning. That followed a misplay by Josh Reddick out there in right. And has plated another run for the Pirates, looking for more against former Pirate Jesse Chavez.
2-2 with a 478 earned run average. 50 punch-outs in 49 innings. A lot of homers.
It's 2 scoreless innings back on Friday, and the Pirates win. McCutchen has singled and walked today. J.P. Howell done after 2/3. Dodgers have needed in upwards almost 130 pitches so far today.
Wow.
They've gotten 14 outs.
130 pitches?
Yeah, they're at 127 right now. I mean, you think of a complete game, you know, a guy throws 110 pitches or something like that, right?
Yeah. We're just in the 5th inning.
We're halfway through. Some of that is the Pirates are really laying off some pitches. Should get the Dodgers out of this inning, and does. Pirates get another run. And they're up 7-2.
Sports is brought to you by the Chevy Colorado and your Western PA Chevy dealers. And by Barrel. With express service, you're in and out in no time. Visit barrelservice.com to find the location near you. Let's go Bucks!
Wake up! No, don't wake up. The 7-2 Pirates. Never wake a sleeping baby. I've heard that somewhere. Every conversation I've ever had with my wife over the last 8 months. Should we? No, we should not wake her up.
Do you like it when she cries?
She doesn't cry that much. She'll cry when we try to put her down to sleep, though.
I've always liked a crying baby.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
What do you like about that?
I just think it's funny.
I don't get too rattled by it. My wife seems to care more than I do. I know that she's going to sleep. She's fine. And Dodgers didn't like that call right there. There's no crying there either. Nipped it. Right to his opposite number. Probably running it out hard.
As he always does.
Fun to see a guy at 37, as accomplished as he is, on a routine ground ball, hustling down to first base. I was thinking about as Reddick comes up here too, you know, that the ball that he misplayed out there in right field. He's still kind of a visiting player here. He's only, how many times has he ever played at Dodger Stadium? Whole career in the American League before this.
But I guarantee you he's played under the sun before.
No,
many times.
I know. But this specific field, it is not. He has not gotten used to that just yet.
Shortstop, Corey Seager.
Come on, Joe, that was funny.
Yeah.
You can laugh at my jokes now and again.
Two away. We're having a good old time up here. There's the San Gabriel Mountains back there. Beautiful shot. Great backdrop here at Dodger Stadium. This has been here since the early 60s. Looks still like a brand new facility in a lot of places. Meanwhile, Chad Kuhl just doing just like you said, right? And tips to win.
Yep.
Keeping cool. Getting some more ground ball outs on a 9-pitch inning. 3 outs in the frame. 1, 2, 3. 6 coming up. Pirates bats coming up with a 7-2 lead. Anderson made his return to the big leagues. And Jordy Mercer has returned to the pavilion out there. And Sean Rodriguez also with a big blast. With 2 outs, that 3-run home run, really capitalizing on that 2-out rally and a 5-run first. And the Pirates have been coasting since. Rick Monday's got his eyes on the prize too.
Yes, he does.
Great Dodger broadcaster all these years, player, and of course many people believe a little bit of American heroism, right? When that fan, the deranged fan burning the U.S. flag on the field, he went out and got that flag from the fan as well.
Yep, that was pretty cool.
About 40 years ago now. David Freese today has walked twice. Pirates have drawn 5 walks today. There's the old bat flip from David Freese.
He's had a number. I think he leads the team
in the helicopter bat rides.
Yep. Reaching out. Whee!
Happens a lot. Got the batting gloves on. I got to ask him. I talked to him today. I forgot to ask him about that.
Yeah,
if he uses pine tar or not.
Yeah, certain guys like it dry. Certain guys want them real sticky. You know, even guys without batting gloves, some just want their hands dry and they'll use some rosin, maybe just a little bit of tackiness on the bat. Others want their hands all, like Jason Kendall's hands were a mess. I mean, he had pine tar all over the place.
How do you get rid of that when you go out to catch then and try to throw the ball down to second base?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Reddick with a fine play there. You know, that made me think, Rock, too. You know, as he's moving over toward the line, he's catching that kind of on his hip, where if maybe he did that or tried to do that, at least on that high pop earlier, maybe he could have found it.
Yeah, I mean, this is around the area. It's almost exactly just a few feet from where the Polanco ball fell in about this time yesterday, but he was already over to the wall. I mean, he was, again, I think looking up backhand, wasn't he? Well, on the Polanco, I'm pretty sure.
Right, he was looking kind of toward home plate on the Polanco ball, whereas there he was looking perpendicular away from it.
It gives you a little different angle.
Two men down here. Pirates have not been retired in order today.
Or yesterday.
Great point. When was the last time? Well, the 8th inning on Friday, the last time the Pirates went down in order. So 15 straight innings coming into this frame with a man aboard at some point. Cervelli today with a single back in that first inning, keeping that inning alive. Wow, that is quite an ornate display right there. I feel like I have to give that guy $2 now that I've looked at him. The street performers.
Yeah.
You know, they get mad at you if you don't. If you look at them, you have to give them $1 at least. If you take a picture, you got to put more in.
5.
Yeah, or 5. That is, I mean, how do you have the patience to paint your face like that, especially on a hot day? Cervelli down on strikes. First time in 15 innings. The Pirates down in order, but they still lead 7-2. our UPMC scoreboard. And a look at our day automotive this day in Pirates history. Back in 1952, the Bucks beat the Cards 5-3. Ralph Kiner, a 2-run home run in the 8th inning to tie the game, and another 2-run homer in the 10th. And Tony Barnarome also went 3 for 4, scored a run, and Murray Dixon pitched all 10 innings for the Pirates to earn his 11th win. Kiner growing up in nearby Alhambra, and Kiner and Murray Dixon, my wife's grandmother's 2 favorite players growing up in the shadows of Forbes Field in Oakland.
Nice. Tony Barnarome, one of my favorite all-time former Pirates.
Really?
Yeah, he's one of the best.
We cover the gamut. Chad Kuhl starting the 6th inning at 82 pitches. Now 2-0.
Rare to see him behind the count. 2-0.
And 3-0 here.
Pirate pitchers, they haven't walked the batter in a while, have they? That's the other thing. We had a nice stretch of getting runners on base every inning. And
well, you got to go back to Neftali Feliz in the 9th inning Thursday. Last time the Pirates walked a batter. Not at all in this series.
Ray loves that.
On this hot day, it's been some fairly long innings from Kuhl, but not that bad. The last one, though, 9-pitch inning. Get in, get back, get hydrated. I like how Kuhl kind of drops down a little bit too every now and then.
Yeah.
Change that arm angle a bit. Asmani Grandal out on deck. Not giving in.
No,
falling behind 3-0.
Well, with a change up there. And Gonzalez just gets a piece of it out in front off the end of the bat.
And down 3-0 to Adrian Gonzalez. Gets him to pop out to start the inning. This is Chad Kuhl in his 6th major league start. Little things like this really impress me.
Oh, yeah.
Catcher,
I mean,
Yasmani Grandal.
We talked about this lineup, how hot they've been, how they're swinging the bats. I think it certainly helps to be able to come out with a 5-run lead for your first inning of work, but still, just attacking. He falls behind 3-0. It's Adrian Gonzalez. So what? I'll just keep throwing you strike after strike.
He started off his career, did Chad Kuhl, beating Clayton Kershaw. Now, of course, Kershaw probably wasn't himself that night and went on the DL right after that, but still, Kuhl pitched well. And that kind of tone was set. If the Pirates prevail today, they'll have won each of his first 6 starts in the major leagues. The way that the Dodgers have swung the bat, you still don't feel all that comfortable. Collected 35 hits in the series.
Another thing about Chad Kuhl is once he gets to 2 strikes, he's not wasting many pitches. He's still coming at the hitters. He's thrown 25 2-strike pitches. 20 of them were strikes.
Either fouled off or put in play.
Yeah.
Or striking the guy out. And that's something that we did not see yesterday.
No.
We saw a lot of those 2-strike counts elevate, turn into long at bats, base hits.
Oh, good slider
Wow.
there. Maybe one of the best he's thrown.
Fourth strikeout.
Center fielder.
I mean, this had some hard late break. Not exactly where he wanted it. You see Cervelli reaching way over on his backhand. The dead ball, look at it break down. How sharp.
That seemed to me what was missing from Garrett Cole yesterday. You know, that really good sharp slider with all the lefties up.
Yeah. Likes to throw that back foot slider, does Garrett Cole, and that kind of back foot slider to Peterson, first pitch.
Peterson ripped a home run to right his last time. And he's quickly ahead of him, 2 strikes. Now this hot day, you'll take 6 innings from Chad Kuhl, wouldn't you?
Indeed.
Throw his 99th pitch coming up. That has limited the Dodgers to 2 runs. Antonio Bastardo. All the lefties in the order. It's been nice. Those trade deadline deals give Clint Hurdle some lefties to work with. With Bastardo, Rivero, and then also Jeff Locke being moved to the bullpen. Just more, not as a lefty specialist, but another lefty arm, which kind of helped toward the end of the game yesterday. Locke's 2 scoreless.
If you were a right-handed like bench player, platoon player, you used to love it when the Pirates came into town because you knew you were going to see at least 1 lefty, maybe 2. Not anymore. All righty rotation.
Yeah, that changed fast. Locke, Neese, and Liriano. 2 have been traded. 1's in the bullpen. And Peterson heading back to the dugout. If that's how Chad Kuhl ends his afternoon, it was a great success. Was excellent this afternoon, and really varying his pitches throughout the day today too.
He wasn't showing that great athleticism you talked about earlier, Joe. Coming off the mound there, he gets a little comeback, and that's an easy one. And this one doesn't have to cover. Jay Hay got that one. Got the ground balls, did Chad Kuhl, and the line drive right back at him. Quick reflexes. That's it for Chad Kuhl, but another good day at the ballpark.
Really great to see Cool in his 6th major league start. Will he be part of this Pirates rotation? And 2 runs over 6 innings and scattering those 6 hits, striking out the final 2 he faced, sent down the final 8 in a row. And in line for a win. There's the Pirates lead 7-2 on our UPMC scoreboard. Couple of changes for the Dodgers. First on the mound, Grant Dayton.
150 ERA in 4 appearances.
Fifth Dodgers pitcher today, Kike Hernandez. A patrol center field on the double switch. And he dispatches Sean Rodriguez, who had not been retired yet today. The rookie out of Madison, Alabama.
Adam Frazier gets to face another lefty.
2 for 2 against the lefties today. You were pointing out earlier what he's done against lefties so far. Coming into the day, he was already hitting .500 against lefties. Let's add to it.
Yep.
Couple of singles, one in the infield back in that first inning. Pirates batted around in that first. What a try there. Good job, Jace.
Go into the seats. Derek Jeter like,
I will not let you have the ball. I try to protect the fans. Oh, and the fan with a nice snare too. And another hit off a lefty for Adam Frazier.
it always seems to work that way. A late addition to the lineup. You get in there and you have a good afternoon.
It's the 39, Chad Cool.
And just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to look forward to Miller Time later in the game, brought to you by Miller Lite.
Choosing to leave Chad Cool in to hit. I figure with a little bit of a short bench. Marte guessing not available. I'm sure he wants to give Polanco a full day off. And with the big lead, just in case, wants to keep Matt Joyce available for later if needed.
Tried on that last one, so assigned to strike. I'll get one. And that's all. Now this is interesting. Cool will have to run the bases here after he was going to be out of the ball game.
And once again, when you bunt towards third with a runner on first, this is likely to happen. Look how far in he is. And so that's just an easy catch and throw, even with Frazier. Almost a double play. Look at all the room on the first base side. If you bunt it towards first, no way that Adrian Gonzalez could make a play on Frazier.
Back up to the top. 3-hit day for Josh Harrison. Drove in a run with that double that fell in, that Sun-aided double. Hits one out to the Sun field. Look some more of our tweets today with Chad Kuhl, very impressive today. And Spencer telling us that, yeah, it's time for the bullpen to hold on to this thing. The Pirates bullpen has been awfully good for about 7 weeks now. Right around the best ERA in baseball, if not the best.
And the rotation has gotten better. The bullpen's gotten better. Offense is coming around. It's a good time to get hot, to have all facets going on all cylinders.
Starters ERA the last 16 games, 3.29. Harrison down on strikes. Time to stretch. Pirates lead 7-2. Big game for Sean Rodriguez. Big game for the Pirates all around. Well played. 7-2. They're leading here in LA. This is not an easy place to win. And the Pirates are stirring a series win here on this Sunday.
Antonio Bastardo for the 48th time. 4.53 the ERA.
Irony is he'll face 3 righties. Not that many of them in the Dodger lineup. But as is the case, Clint Hurdle wants guys that can get lefties and righties out, so Bastardo will have that chance to prove that. He has been improved since coming over to the Pirates this time around.
Always been tough to hit. I mean, he doesn't really wow you with the velocity, but he's got deception to that fastball. When he's throwing strikes, he's tough to hit.
Pitch down and in.
Again, fastball just 91. Howie Kendrick, a solid hitter, comes up empty.
A moment he'll remember forever. And there's the first walk in the series issued by Pirate pitching. They had walked, or I should say they had delivered 24 straight innings without a walk.
Back in the zone, try to race that base runner, get a ground ball.
And now 2 strikes. Bastardo wants a new baseball. Kendrick aboard at first. Down 5 runs here in the 7th. Bastardo still paying attention to him, though. Now in the minor leagues, they have instituted a rule that every pitch has to be delivered within 20 seconds. It has increased, I should say decreased, the time of game. We were talking about that earlier with replay and ways that baseball maybe could speed up the game. There are a few pitchers out there that might be challenged by such a rule.
I actually thought initially last year in spring training when they talked about the batter not being allowed to leave the batter's box on a ball or a taken pitch, and I thought that went pretty well for a couple days.
Yeah, brought the game, down by more than 6 minutes last year.
But after about a month during the season, nobody paid any mind to it anymore. Stopped.
That will allow Kendrick to get to second. Yeah, that's as things have gone on. Let's look at the wild pitch.
And the ball kind of took a wicked hop on Cervelli. Kick to his right. The ball bounced right in front of him, but with the spin. Andrew looking for some action.
Trying to stay ready. Now the 2-2. And a base hit. Nobody out. Kendrick held at third, and Rodriguez got that in very quickly anyway. Well, this Dodger lineup isn't going to go away.
Center fielder number 14.
That looked like a fastball away. Up and away. Look how far away. Wow. 92. Nice swing there.
And Ray Searage will call timeout and make his way out to the mound. There is a clock for that, though. 30-second clock. Conference has to be done by then, but Chad Fairchild got a late break to the mound, so he'll afford the Pirates a few extra seconds. That was also something that was very diligently enforced at the beginning of the season, and now it's a little bit more of a loose suggestion. This is the time of day which, prior to that 30-second pitching clock and between innings clock, was the only clock that you would see at a ballpark. Now there are two. Nothing wrong with the game of baseball, but sometimes the pace.
At times, yes. Yeah. Especially when there's a lot of bases on balls like yesterday. I mean, that could be.
I like sitting back, relaxing, you know, hanging out at the ballpark. But you do want some rhythm to the action.
Yeah, I think especially, like, I just think about home fans, and yesterday the home fans and watching their pitchers walk 11 guys had to be so frustrating. You know, I mean, you get a little antsy and start murmuring. And I mean, I guess, you know, if your guys are getting walked, it's not that big a deal. But you can tell yesterday the fans were grumbling and mumbling. Kind of carried over to today. Although yesterday they obviously were able to win the game. The Dodgers today will take quite the comeback.
You think about time of game for kids, either watching at the ballpark, right? You know, they get a little restless.
I have an idea. For shortening the game, like Little League, you just go to 6 innings.
I don't know about that, but I think we can trim things up a little bit here and there. And Felipe Rivero has to get up and back up Bastardo here.
Yeah, I can't imagine Vin yesterday. What was it, 3:54 at the time of the game?
Yeah, nearly a 4-hour ball game.
Yeah, he's over there solo.
Well, the good thing is he's got 67 years of stories to weave in.
Yeah.
Now 2-2. And the amazing part about that is he could tell us about, say, Connie Mack firsthand, the old Philadelphia A's manager who was born during the Civil War, who was managing at the time he broadcast. Or, of course, about Jackie Robinson, who played for the Dodgers most of the seasons that he was broadcasting back in Brooklyn. Good jump by Frazier, and they get the first out.
Yeah, that had enough topspin. I thought that was going to land safely out there and left. Hernandez, I think, was hoping, although took the bat with him. He was hoping for at least a sac fly, but that ball was too shallow, and with the score, you're never going to risk that.
So Cervelli will call time and talk with Bastardo. Well, now here's the part of the order where you got 4 straight lefties coming up, and Dave Roberts has already used 2 men off his bench. He's got Turner, who is probably not available today, he didn't start, and the backup catcher. So you're probably going to be able to match up the lefties here. And you're wanting to get a double play ball here. Most plate appearances in a season without grounding into a double play, and the manager is the only one that's done more than his pupil. Pull a balk on Bastardo, and the runners will advance Kendrick into score, and now it's 7-3. Can't let the Dodgers back in this game.
Well, Kendrick kind of broke towards the plate, just the bluff. And I don't know if anybody said anything to Antonio or if he heard it, but there must have been a flinch.
There it is. Can't deceive the runners. Entitled to move up a base. And Cervelli with a good block saved him from another base there. Well, you're letting the Dodgers get some hope here in the 7th.
You see Kendrick with the bluff, and that was about the time he saw the flinch.
It surprises me too, being a lefty with his back turned. Maybe he saw it over his shoulder or something. Now 2-0 on the lefty. So far, Bastardo has fared very well against lefties since putting on the black and gold this year. Lefties have not yet had a hit against Bastardo in 9 plate appearances. He's fallen behind 3-0. Put another run on a runner on here. You get the tying run out on deck, and the Dodgers enter this inning down 5, looking listless at the plate. And the final innings from Chad Kuhl. Utley wasn't going to tender a swing there, I guess.
Yeah, obviously taking, you're down 4. You're not up there swinging on a 3-0 count.
Now 3-2. Bastardo has already thrown 23 pitches here in this inning. Has gotten 1 out. Second and on its second.
Chase Utley still has that good bat speed, that short little quick swing. He likes to pull the ball. He's a guy that used to really get on the plate. He doesn't seem to be as close to the plate now as he used to be, but he just looks to hook. Still a little close to it, but there were times where it felt like his back foot was even closer to that white line.
Popped him up. McCutcheon underneath it for the second out.
Good job of coming back from Bastardo. Nice lazy fly ball for Andrew.
Rivero still warming, and he's going to be in the ball game. Clint Hurdle making the pitching change here. It's 7-3 Pirates here in the 7th. Dodgers, they don't go down easy on this hot afternoon. 90 at game time. Now Felipe Rivero.
54th appearance. 4.07 ERA, 63 punch-outs in 55 and a third. Looking to get the final out here. No more of that, huh?
No more. A lot of black and gold here at Dodger Stadium today. Trying to take a series from the Dodgers at their place. Got to keep this lead, though. 7 outs to go. Reddick today with a couple of hits. His first couple of weeks as a Dodger.
Well, that had to become pretty close to the radio booth. That foul ball.
Think Greg and Bob made a play on that?
Maybe Bob.
Say Brownie wouldn't go for that ball?
Maybe not.
Toward the corner. Frazier out of real estate. No. Where's the ball? Oh, wow. Hey, they did come up with it. Greg just came back out from underneath the desk. Because he's smart. And Rivero is good. Last inning, they got a foul ball in the radio booth.
I think it hit the monitor.
You want to listen in on it? Okay, here's what it sounded like.
Strong innings from Tanner Roark to get the win. The pitch fouled back, out of play. Our way, Bob.
Oh! Wow!
Why didn't you go for it? I just ducked.
I told you he got out of the way. He's a smart man. We didn't play like you athletes. We just know how to run.
Yeah.
What did that break, by the way?
I think it hit a monitor.
I hope Tony Noto's okay back there.
He seems to be fine.
Still got the cat-like reflexes. I'm dying to know what that hit. I hope everything's okay in there. Everybody is okay. Jordy Mercer to lead it off. He really got things going with that 2-run home run back in the first. Pirates with a 5-run first inning. And credit Chad Kuhl. 2 runs over 6 innings, really making sure that that lead stood up.
Yes, very aggressive. Very good outing against a very good offense.
Yeah, this Dodgers outfit, 12 hits in the opener, 17 yesterday. Pirates have kept them to 7 so far, and they've put up 11 hits of their own. High into that Sunday sun. Rondal.
Number 22, Andrew McCutchen.
And now Andrew McCutchen drove in a run with a base hit back in the 4th. Also has walked again today. Talking with him earlier this morning about his approach, and he said that has been one thing that he's tried to change. Just try to be more selective. He said all the other noise and everything, just, you know, try to be more selective. That's
Hard to hit when you think.
Yep. Probably has been some of the problem, right?
I think any hitter that struggles, it's hard not to.
We have seen more and more consistency from McCutchen since Clint Hurdle set him down for those 3 games in Atlanta. Still not seeing with regularity that you know, the extra base hits, although he did homer just the other day back on Friday. But we're seeing better and better at bats, I think, in my opinion.
3 lineouts in this series. He lined out the 3rd twice, hit it right on the button, lined out the right Friday night, and not happy with this call as it's just off the inside edge.
Chad Unfairchild calling the balls and strikes.
I think as a hitter gets more and more locked in and they start feeling better at the plate, I think you get more upset when a call goes against you, because you feel like every time you go up there that you're going to hit a ball hard, and so you don't want to get in the hole,
especially when you don't deserve it.
Yep.
You would think it'd be the other way around, but yeah, that makes sense. Bird's eye view. Pitch from Grant Dayton, the rookie.
Just didn't pick up the rotation. You can see the spin. He's thinking maybe another fastball in, but nope. The slider.
Dayton has settled things down. Pirates scored off the first 3 Dodgers pitchers of the day. Curveball misses for ball 1 to David Freese, who has walked twice today. So McCutchen, if his day is through, is 1 for 4. May not get another time. Looking better and better at the plate, though, and Clint Hurdle in his radio show today inferring, without mentioning McCutchen by name, but inferring, you know, that guys, you know, trying to really get locked in here this time of year. And he, you know, to paraphrase, he said, you know, if you're hitting 240, you know, don't think about hitting 240. Think about hitting this next pitch.
Yeah.
And I think that approach, if he is referring to McCutchen there, has worked. Because the Pirates need him if they're going to go to the postseason, and if they're going to make hay in the postseason, they're going to need him as well as all 25 men on this roster. They've got a 7-3 lead here in the 8th. If the Orioles can hang on as we look at the wild card standings at the moment. Pirates leading here 7-3. Even if the scores hold, the Dodgers wouldn't lose any ground, but more importantly, the Pirates would gain on the Dodgers. We're in that first wild card spot, and also stay pace with the Marlins, who have won today. They won the game, but they lost Giancarlo Stanton for the year, more than likely. Groin concern more severe than originally thought. And that is a huge blow for Miami. How do you don't replace Giancarlo Stanton?
No. And not having his greatest year, but he's still a threat every time he goes to the plate. He hits the long ball, he drives and runs. And not a bad outfield.
Got that good arm in right. Cardinals in action against the Cubs in a little bit, as Neftali Feliz would be next.
We ran out of ball, boys. Sleep at the wheel.
You take them for granted, right? They just scoop up everything. But imagine this game without them. Can you imagine seeing guys having to go and pick up stuff all the time?
No, need them. Got to keep them on their toes, though. No, he's just refilling the water jug.
What if the umpires run out of balls? They'd have, okay, hold on. I'm gonna just leave them on the field, right? Get a wild pitch, and they'll knocks the bag over.
Probably the worst part about that is Chad Fairchild went to get the ball. He didn't throw it in the stands. So, I mean, umpires get enough grief as it is from fans. And they were screaming and hollering at him for not throwing the ball to somebody. Andrew doesn't mind. I think after that last at bat that Fairchild got some more abuse.
Everyone piling up on the ups, right? Fair ball to Freeze.
But we didn't talk about it at the time that it happened with Andrew. But that does make a difference in a bat, in the sense that it's a fastball. It's a little bit off the plate, and he knows the zone. They call it a strike, and so he has to protect against the fastball that's in there. And so that has to get into the back of your mind that, okay, if he comes back in here, now I got to try to fight that off, even though it's off the plate in. And so, I mean, that's part of the reason why he ends up chasing the breaking ball, because he's thinking about protecting the fastball in there. And so that's just one of the reasons why if a call goes against you, it can affect the rest of the at bat.
That was a 1-1 pitch, right? That went for a strike, if I recall.
Yes, I believe so.
So if you got a 1-2 count after 1-2 for a batter, you hit 177, and if you're 2-1, you hit 250.
Yeah, big difference.
So that's the one that really is the biggest swing within an at bat. Plunks Gonzalez
right in the elbow pad.
It sounded like a dull thud, which is good. I think it did get that pad. What's Gonzalez doing here? He's just kind of walking toward the mound a little bit, and now making his way to first. He did not go straight up to first base.
Catcher number 9.
Man, it stuck it in there pretty good. Again, it's a kind of an instinct to pull that elbow in, especially when you have a guard on there. So I think it got most of that pad.
Kind of kicking the mound a little bit there for a moment, trying to show that he's frustrated that he hit Gonzalez. He just wants to work through this inning clean, protect the lead. Rondal 0 for 3. Shoe tops that time. Gonzalez still trying to work out the pain from that hit by pitch.
He doesn't get hit a whole lot. Just the third time this year.
Just watching the ball go back into the seats. So Gonzalez there at first with 1 out.
He missed it 3 times,
but still got it.
Yeah.
Pirates started with Chad Kuhl today. He went 6 strong. Did not walk a batter. Scattering those 6 hits, giving up just 2 runs. Bastardo gave up a run on a balk in his 2/3. Rivero has sent down 2 and then hit Gonzalez, who's at first. And he struck him out. Rondal called out on strikes. This is what we saw earlier. Hey, you got to stick with it, right?
Back behind him, and then in front of him, and then behind him, and then he had to wrestle it away from another fan.
That's a good lesson for the kid, right? Hey, you got to stick with it, son. A.J. Ellis pinch hitting for Grant Dayton. 201 for AJ. And down 2 strikes. 97 from Rivero.
Oh, that's a big arm. That's some kind of impressive.
Josh Fields pitched an inning yesterday. .98 that time. He has hit 100 this year. He's one of 3 lefties to throw a pitch 100 miles an hour this year. Of course, Aroldis Chapman. James Paxton of the Mariners has thrown a couple. Rivero's thrown one. And he struck him out. So 3 strikeouts for Rivero today. And we'll go to the 9th with the Pirates on top 7-3.
On Root Sports is brought to you by Kenny Ross, Total Confidence Pricing, and by Levin Furniture, the official furniture and mattress supplier to the Pittsburgh Pirates. For the best quality, service, and value, shop Levin's. Let's go Bucks!
Pirates 7, Dodgers 3 as we start the 9th inning. And you can stay tuned after the game for this week's Inside Pirates Baseball. And Starling Marte has speed to burn and could reach a whole new level of thefts this season. And the Pirates discuss the etiquette of talking to a pitcher on the day he starts. Much more coming up on Inside Pirates Baseball, presented by Allegheny Health Network tonight after postgame right here on Root Sports. Palm trees in the background here at iconic Dodger Stadium. One of the greatest fields in Major League Baseball.
No doubt, Joe. 22nd appearance, 5.23 ERA, 27 punch-outs.
I'm at the ballpark.
Better fields.
Josh didn't pitch half badly yesterday. Did get a scoreless inning. Jung-Ho Kang today walked and scored back in the first. He blasts this one, and no doubt about this one. There it goes, halfway up the pavilion in left center. Jung-Ho Kang is homered on back-to-back days.
Fairly quiet his first 4 plate appearances. He did walk and score in the first, but 0 for 3. And another absolute bomb.
445 feet it's estimated at.
He was afraid to give it up, thinking the guy he was handing it to was going to throw it back. Pretty close to the pitch he hit yesterday. Fastball middle and up. And he's right on time.
Eight 3 Pirates. Outfielders knew they didn't have a chance. No one landed in the 14th row of the pavilion out there. 13 homers for Gung, back-to-back days. He hadn't homered in almost 2 months.
Hopefully he's back on track.
They need him too. Pirates push for the postseason. This would be a very big series win here in LA. Not only because you're collecting wins, but also peeling a couple of wins away from the Dodgers. You know, first the Pirates, if they can get into the postseason, then they're going to have their sights on who is the top wild card team.
A lot of ball games left to be played.
And another base hit. Cervelli trying to stretch it into 2. And he's in there with a double.
Marte seems to be enjoying the day off. Pretty impressive that Cervelli gets in there. That's why Marte got a big kick out of that one. I mean, that ball's to the third baseman's left. You don't expect Cervelli to end up at second. It's things that Marte does typically.
So back-to-back extra base hits for the Pirates. They've banged 13 hits today. One of those, 2 of those, I should say, from Sean Rodriguez. One of those very, very big. That 2-out, 3-run home run in the first inning, really setting the tone for this game. Capping that 5-run first.
Fastball 95.
Scored away from Grandal.
Boy, I mean, that may have been a strike. I mean, that pitch didn't miss by much. Not exactly sure what happened there. It was just a fastball. Yeah, right on the outside corner.
Pass ball. Bright red number on the front of the Dodgers uniforms. And that was an innovation born from Walter O'Malley, who owned the Dodgers for such a long time. Back in 1951, O'Malley was going to debut those numbers when the Dodgers went to the World Series, but a man by the name of Bobby Thompson changed the fates of the shot heard around the world. but they ended up debuting in the 1952 season. And the whole point of those, I mean, the Dodgers don't really have red anywhere else in their color scheme, but it was to show up very well on television. And so that's why the Dodgers have those red numbers on the front. Rodriguez, he's going to have extra bases. Cervelli in easily, and a good throw in from Reddick holds Rodriguez to a long single. He's got 4 RBIs today, and the Pirates blowing out the Dodgers.
And another good at bat. Now he had a couple fastballs to hit in this at bat, and he's come up empty on both of them. The full count fastball, though, right on time. We talked about how he hasn't hit any balls to right field in 17 games, and 2 here this afternoon. The 3-run homer, the run-scoring single off the wall.
Ties a season high with 4 runs batted in for Rodriguez. Back in Seattle a month and a half ago. Homer, double, and a single. 2 runs across. 9-3 Pirates. They're not done here in the 9th. Adam Frazier wants another. He's got 4 hits today.
Finally gets one off a right-handed pitcher. First 3 against lefties.
Pinch hitter number 17, Matt Joyce.
The Pirates with 15 hits. And a career high 4 hits for Adam Frazier. Gregory Polanco is going to run for Sean Rodriguez.
In the game to pinch run, number 25, Gregory Polanco.
So not getting a complete day off today. Two men aboard. 4 straight hits to start, and Matt Joyce pinch hitting for Rivero.
I guess Polanco is carrying on too much in the dugout. Clint wanted to get rid of him.
Put me in the game.
Get him out of the dugout.
So Rivero went an inning and a third. Struck out 3 in scoreless fashion. Starling Marte was originally in the starting lineup. Late scratch. Fields took his place in left field and came up with a career high 4 hits today. All singles. I should say Frazier. Fields is pitching. There's Pedro Baez. Dodgers have already had to use 6 pitchers today. Brett Anderson, their starter, only lasted an inning in his first outing of the season. This might be the first out of the inning.
Second baseman Josh Harrison.
So first and second with 1 out. Josh Harrison bidding for his 4th hit today. All Pirates here today.
Yeah, lots of fun. Like to have these days, big offensive days. Oh my.
That'll sneak through. And Polanco gallops home. Pirates leading 10-3, and listen to the applause. There's a lot of Pirate fans here today. Or at least among the ones that have stuck around.
Shortstop Jordy Mercer.
4 hits today for Josh Harrison.
Yep, this one not hit very hard, just well placed. A little topper off the end of the bat. And this quick infield. The grass is like a putting green.
have been having a good day today. They're sticking around for it all. Jordy Mercer with that 2-run home run, the second batter of the ball game. Pirates led from that point on.
And when you hit a 2-run homer, second batter in, you don't want to end up going 1 for 5. Jordy needs a hit. Such a great start to your day. You're feeling good about yourself. It's like nothing can go wrong now. He got me a bomb, a couple RBIs. You don't want to go 0 for 4 after that. I need to pick up another RBI or 2.
Four hits for Harrison today, 4 hits for Frazier. That'll skip past Gonzalez. Frazier will come in to score. 11-3 Pirates. A 4-run 9th inning so far. And Dave Roberts is going to have to use a 7th pitcher today. On that tough in-between hop.
You got stop there as an infielder. You have to move your feet. And you'll see here Gonzalez just stays back and the ball eats him up. It gives with the glove too. If you get the glove out in front, you can shorten that hop.
So another new pitcher coming on for the Dodgers. Pirates beating them 11-3. There's the McCreary family. Big Andrew McCutchen fans. I just put an error up on the scoreboard, so I assume that's an error on Gonzalez that allowed Mercer to reach. Pirates with 5 hits in the inning, plus that error. Josh Fields a third of an inning. Here's the 1-0. McCutchen today singled in a run back in the fourth. He's drawn a walk.
Yeah, once again, a questionable call. Andrew doesn't seem thrilled. Wow, that was worse than the other.
Back in the old days before pitch effects, right? He just, all right, let's just try to get this thing going.
Hitters don't think that way. Hitters want to hit. They don't want anything to change, blowout or not.
Two balls and 2 strikes.
They want a ball.
Andrew McCutchen's been so good to them. And they've been so good to the Pirates. Great fans. Making their way up to LA.
That's the neatest thing about, you know, the turnaround, the Pirates reaching the postseason the last few years is, you know, we do come to these cities and we've always seen black and gold from people that have, you know, maybe moved out or were visiting or whatever. But now, I mean, you've made fans, Pittsburgh Pirate fans that are across the country and throughout the country because of guys like Andrew McCutchen.
Yeah, McCutchen's stardom kind of putting the Pirates on the map, and then their success of the team resonating with everybody. That's going to get him out of the inning. Pirates lead by 8. And the Pirates head to San Francisco after this game and will begin a series against the Giants tomorrow night. Coverage from AT&T Park begins at 9:30 with Pirates pregame presented by WB Mason right here on Root Sports. Matt Moore, newly acquired lefty for the Giants, will go against Ryan Vogelsong, who makes his return to San Francisco. That'll be emotional for him for sure.
Yeah.
Gregory Polanco staying in the game to play right after running for Rodriguez.
Figure Vogelsong really looking forward to that start. Nice to be heading up north with a series win here. Juan Nicasio wanting to make quick work of the Dodgers here tonight. 31st appearance, 86, 4.95 ERA. 4 punch outs for Juan.
Ryan Vogelsong will start in San Francisco tomorrow. Won 2 World Series with the Giants. And the Giants, like his Pirates teammates, very much in support of him, going through his toughest times as a player. After he was hit in the eye less than 3 months ago. So a reunion where I'm sure it'll be fun for him to try to make him feel bad.
Yeah.
Right? Hugs before the game, handshakes, and then bragging rights. And he's pitched pretty well in his 2 starts.
Exceptionally well. I mean, just painting. He's throwing everything where he wants to.
It's funny to think about this Pirates rotation as it stands right now, right? Chad Kuhl and Jamison Tyone began the year in the minor leagues. They have both shown that they merit staying in the rotation. And Juan Nicasio, who's on the mound at the moment, essentially beat out Vogelsong for that final spot in the rotation. Nice and Liriano are traded away. Locke is in the bullpen.
Yeah, totally different look to the rotation.
It just shows you over a course of a baseball season, things change. The way you draw it up day 1.
Whoa.
That play by Harrison.
What a play. That's not an easy one. That's do or die right there.
Third baseman number 25, Rob Segedin.
Jay, you know, there's sometimes you just want to get low. You just want to kind of get as low as you can on the backhand, try to read that hop. An 11-3 game, not one you want to get in front of.
2 quick outs from Juan Nicasio. And the Pirates poised to take 2 out of 3 here in LA against a team with the 2nd best home record in the National League, and not to mention one of the best records overall. Be a 3rd straight series win. Just keep chipping away.
You don't have to make up the whole deficit in a week. There's still a lot of baseball left.
And the Pirates, depending on what happens with the Cardinals, will still be behind St. Louis no matter what. And they'll be behind the Marlins, who won today. But as early as tomorrow or Tuesday, they could find themselves in wild card position. I mean, they're right there.
And again, 47 games to play after this one.
A strike away from win number 59. Pirates just 2 games over 500. Would be 3 after a win. And there it is. But the Pirates are closer to the wild card than they've been in some time after this series, making up some ground against the Dodgers and the rest of their National League foes with a resounding win today.
That's a nice one right there. Hardly any stress. Right out of the gate. Jump on them early. Get the big lead. Let Chad Kuhl go and do his thing. Add on a couple along the way. And then
Pirates, 11 runs on 16 hits, no errors.
put a nail in the coffin late.
For your Dodgers,
Great win.
3 runs, 7
Pirates
hits,
beat
2
the
errors.
Dodgers today 11-3.
Return Tuesday.
Now head to San Francisco. Try to collect some more. And Paul and Teak back in the studio with the post game coming up.
Dodgers do thank you for attending today's